Hello, this is Coleridgegirl, and we're gonna do. I have notes from Sir Chonk, and we're gonna talk a little bit about sort of our goals with this channel and why we started the channel. I know it's a little late to do the intro, about a month in, but we kind of wanted to do this and just sort of explain some things because I guess we just kind of threw some stuff up there. And sort of who we are, why we're doing this, and, what our plans are. So we apologize for it being very late, and I'm doing the video because until probably late June, most of this is going to be on me, because Sir Chonk is in school, and so he's very, very, busy during the day, and then obviously when he gets home, he's exhausted. So, so welcome. So again, our channel is Pick Your Pop Culture Poison. I'm Coleridgegirl, and Sir Chonk is the male counterpart. We're very different people, but we went with sort of the usernames for a few reasons. I mean, I have pretty bad social anxiety, so this was easier for me. I'm also a writer, and I write under a pen name. I just don't like necessarily using my real name. And Sir Chonk, like I said, he's in school and he teaches, so it's usually just better for us to have sort of separate identities, for that reason. So anyway, moving into our questions. So, number one, why did we decide to start the channel? And, I feel like it's something we've been talking about forever, and we just haven't. Well before COVID, we were like, oh, we should totally do this. He has this huge comic book collection. I read comics too. I read a ridiculous amount of books, and also we watch a ton of movies, and we have just a lot of pop culture involvement, awareness. We're very interested in it. We watch a lot of YouTube, and are always interested in other people's sort of favorite movies, favorites of everything we like, love top 10 lists. And so we kind of thought, hey, we should totally do something like that. So that was kind of why we decided, and it just took us a very long time to get ourselves sort of motivated to do it. So this is kind of I eventually, we kept talking about it, and eventually I was like, okay, we're just going to start this. So that's how we decided to start it. So what are some fun and unique things you can bring? I mean, Sir Chonk says that he can bring his bad humor and general life disenchantment. So there's that. I think, there's not a lot of... There are definitely channels, obviously, that are run by multiple people, that have kind of multiple people. I mean, ideally, we're hoping to do a little bit more where we're kind of both involved. So we're going to do either, sort of verses, like my favorite heroes and his favorite heroes, or, favorite books. Maybe down the line kind of do a swap a TBR. So, it's kind of nice to have another person to sort of bounce some ideas off of and talk about. And we're very different. He can be, I can be kind of snarky, but generally I try to be positive, and he's kind of snarky, and so, it's a good, I think, balance, for the two of us. So, yeah, so I guess that makes us unique. I mean, we're just regular people, so we're not going to do anything that's going to change the world, but hopefully we'll at least be fun. So what are we most excited for? Sir Chonk says he's most excited to get comments that mock him, and which, I sort of struggle with understanding, who leaves, dislikes on YouTube videos. I mean, go ahead, because that's what you're going to do. There's always, somebody out there who that's what they do. It's just, I think in my lifetime, I've never left a dislike. I don't know, I guess I just, feel like I have, better things to do, but I guess, whatever. There's some people who are just very negative. I don't know, I'm most excited to just hopefully, over time kind of build a little bit into the, get into the community more. So, I love to read, and I don't have a lot of people to talk about books with. So, so there's that, and then obviously movies and video games, and then there's all kinds of pop culture things. So, like I said, we watch a lot of YouTube, but like we don't really necessarily have a way to engage, and so it's kind of nice. I'm excited to hopefully be able to talk to people about some stuff. So why do we love reading? Sir Chonk says he loves to read because books give him something to talk about during class, and it helps the students get distracted from destroying things. I love to read because it helps me sort of... I have like the opposite. I know a lot of people really like to like escape in fiction. I'm kind of the opposite. I like to find like common ground, I guess. I love reading something where I'm like, oh wow, somebody sees the world. I've had those thoughts, or that's a really nice way of expressing something, and I feel very connected to characters and to stories, and so that's what I've always loved about reading. I feel like it's like a place where I can go. I struggle a lot with connecting to humans, and I feel like books give me a way to do so with the humans that I think I'm more able to connect to. So question 5, what book or series got you into reading? And I've kind of talked about this in a couple of my other videos. For me, it was the Little House on the Prairie series, because my dad read it to me. And Sir Chonk says for him, one of the first series was Narnia, and I definitely remember Narnia too. So, some Roald Dahl, I think I read that when I was young, Bunnicula, and, as I got a little bit older, I think like Sweet Valley and The Twins and Sweet Valley High, obviously some Fear Street, I've talked about that. I read a lot of V.C. Andrews at like a very young age, but yeah, so I've always been, I feel like we both have been reading since we were very, very young. So question 6, why the title for our channel? Well, because we have a tendency to not necessarily be like one track minded. And I know that's not like the most ideal for a channel. I know you're supposed to kind of like focus on something, but for us, like we just don't, like we may... especially like I'll have a tendency, I'll read a ton and then I'll go like months without reading because I'm playing video games endlessly, or, we'll, sort of binge watch some TV series and then we'll be behind, for 6 months on TV. Or we'll watch 3 movies in a day, in the summer at some point in the weekends, and then we'll, be again months behind on movies. So, for us, like, we knew we definitely wanted to kind of cover a lot of different pop culture things, but we knew we're kind of all over the map ourselves, and so this was our way to kind of touch on everything we like. And then also, pick your poison is just like a saying, and so I was like, hey, that would be kind of cool, because then people can, we have things separated into playlists. So, if you're not really a reader, but you're a comic book person and, you want, you're not a book reader, you want to look at comic book videos, you're not being like inundated with a bunch of nonsense about books, or if you like books and you don't care about video games, again, or you can just look at everything. Sir Chonk's reason is because we cover pop culture, and also he's been poisoning you while you're watching this, which is not true. So please do not blame us if you have been poisoned. Question 7 is, what challenges are you concerned about overcoming? So Chonk says, I am concerned the panda bears will one day realize how strong they are and rise up and destroy us all. Actually, no, never mind. I look forward to that. I think for me, my biggest concern is that we don't really have a lot of friends or know a lot of people, so I have no idea, like we're pretty used to, like, oh, look, we got 8 whole views, so I don't know if this is ever if anyone's ever gonna hear anything, sometimes I feel like I'm talking into the void, and, we're just talking to each other, so hopefully, maybe we'll bring some people along into our lonely, sad weirdness. over time. Question 8. When did you start reading? Sir Chonk says he was like 4, so he doesn't really remember. And again, same thing in my case. I mean, I can vividly remember my dad reading to me, but I don't necessarily know when I was like reading independently. I know I read very young. I was always like, I mean, I was definitely a nerd, you know, and I'm kind of proud of that. I mean, I was that kid who I didn't really like to do a lot of like the social stuff, but I was always reading above grade level. I actually had to go and like get, they sent me to a therapist because in 3rd grade, I was like so far above grade level in terms of reading and, intellectually, I guess, but I refused to follow rules. And like, I thought margins were like the biggest waste of time. And at that point, and I don't know, they probably don't do this in school anymore, but we had to learn to draw margins on paper. So you'd have lined paper and you had to like draw the margins. And very Ray Bradbury, I think if you ruled paper right the other way, I, in 3rd grade, decided margins were pointless and I was not going to do them. And so I would refuse to draw them, and then this has nothing to do with reading, but I would refuse to draw them, and I'd draw, like, these squiggly lines. Like, eventually they were like, you have to draw something, so I just draw squiggly lines, and then they made me go to, like, some kind of, like, adjustment counselor or something because they thought something was wrong with me. But really, I was just sort of, like, antisocial and just wanted to be left alone and read books and didn't feel like drawing margins or doing other work, which kind of seeped into, I was a good student, but I was always able to be a good student, and I know Sir Chonk and I have this in common. I was able to be a good student mostly because I could do the work like really fast and get it done and then go off and do my own thing, and it didn't take a lot of effort because I loved reading. So I would just get all my reading done really fast, whether it was for English or my textbook reading, and then I would just live my own life and read books for fun. And yeah, so anyway, but we've been reading since we were wee children. All right, so question 9, what kind of books, movies, games, etc. do you like? Sir Chonk says he likes all of them, but his favorite is usually some kind of horror or supernatural. I'm all over the place too. I really do love horror. But I like a lot of, he and I are a little different in this, where I like horror that's a little based in realism. So I like thrillers. I like horror that has sort of less of a supernatural element. I like fantasy sometimes, not a ton, but I don't mind it if it's realistic. I like a little bit of realism, and I like very dark books. I don't want to say, like people say, the depressing books, but I like depressing books, depressing games, movies. I like that sort of like brutal realism. It goes to with like me connecting to it. So I like things that kind of don't shy away from sort of difficult topics. But then I can like a ridiculously silly, over the top comedy too. So I pretty much like anything. I'm really just not into romance, and I know Sir Chonk is not either. So those are the things like that we kind of stay away from. But then again, I like The Notebook, so who knows? And then question 10, what kind of videos will you be making in the future? Sir Chonk says he will make videos in which he says strange things and shows off things he has. And again, that's kind of a challenge for us because we don't have a lot of the books. I'm hoping maybe over the summer that we can maybe go to the library and so some of our TBR can be, instead of digital, can be in person, so we can kind of show the books off. I know Sir Chonk actually reads more of physical copies of books. I read a ton on my Kindle, on my phone, basically on the Kindle app. So, I don't know, we'll probably make everything. I mean, if there's something you want to see, tell us. I'm hoping, we'll try to get better at doing this over time. And yeah, so that's who we are. It's not that interesting. I know I've already done the bookish questions, but I was kind of hoping to do this together. But again, it's very tough. And then also Sir Chonk is a ridiculous Boston sports fan. So the last few weeks have just been tragic, but have been watching a lot of, a little bit of every night is like we have to watch some sports things. So that's been tough. And tonight, I'm filming this, it might be, it's game 4 or game 3. I don't know. So the Celtics are probably almost out. So I don't know how much longer we'll be dealing with sports. So, between sports being wrapped up pretty soon and him getting out of school, hopefully we'll be able to be more creative and do more stuff and have like more variety. But, thanks for listening. Bye.